Happy Thursday evening, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in today. It is the weekend, or I should say, the week right before Mother's Day. So that's exciting. And I know a lot of us have kids in school and we just have a couple of more weeks. And if you're anything like me, May is one of the most stressful months because life doesn't slow down. We're still working, we're still active, but it seems like the school activities and everything that the children have is just so extra. There's just so much going on. So I don't know about you. I know I've been talking to some other people, and they said that May is almost worse than December as far as like stress levels because the school is trying to cram everything in. We've got soccer games, soccer practices. We've got field day. Like, why is field day at the end of the year? I will never understand these things, but nonetheless, we are so close, you guys, and I'm super excited about today's live just to share a couple of things with you guys. I would love to hear, what are you guys doing for Mother's Day? It's always, again, one of those things where it's like this weekend is Mother's Day. I think next weekend or weekend after is Memorial Day weekend, and then kids are out. So just so much going on. What are you guys going to be doing for Mother's Day? How do you celebrate Mother's Day? I've been watching on Instagram Reels. This guy interviews ladies and asks, what do you want for Mother's Day? Every single one of them is like, I want to sleep. I want time by myself. I want to hide in my room. And it was comical to me because each one that said it, his face got more and more confused. And finally he said, do flowers not, where are flowers on the list? And all of them are like, so I would love to hear from you ladies, or guys, what do you do for Mother's Day? Do you do breakfast in bed? Do you take them out? Do you gift flowers? Do you just act like Mother's Day doesn't exist and pray for the best? So it's always so fun for me to kind of hear all of the different things. But tell me where you guys are joining in from. We've got a couple of people that have joined on so far. Tell me where you guys are tuning in from. We had one last week that was tuning in from the soccer field. So that was fun times. But today we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about a couple of different things. So I'm super excited to share with you guys. Last week, we met with Christina Smallhorn, and one of the things that we talked about was tiny homes, affordable housing, just different options. And it's so ironic that this last week, 11 Alive, which is one of our news stations here that's local, came out with some information in the College Park area, which is kind of south of the city. And it's not far from the city at all. So it's got a little bit more walkability factor. And I'm going to just share this with you guys because I thought it was really interesting that we had just literally talked about this. So $1 million tiny house pilot program could soon come to College Park. So this is really interesting because the great thing about the College Park area is there is MARTA. So if you have a home here and potentially did not have your own transportation, you would be able to use MARTA. And then if you look, it says Fulton County is working with the city of College Park right now for a tiny homes pilot program. Fulton County commissioners already approved putting $1 million from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act towards a pilot program. The pilot program in College Park potentially includes 6 to 8 tiny houses, each with less than 500 square feet. Prices are expected to range from $100,000 to $150,000. So let me ask you guys, first of all, do you think that you could live in 500 square feet or less? I don't know that I can. I love the idea of it. Maybe if I didn't have, no, I'm lying. Even if I didn't have kids, that's tight, you guys. That's really tight. And I know that there's a lot of people, especially in New York, California, they have lived in these types of condos more, not tiny homes. So this is kind of the best of both worlds, I guess, because you would have a yard, you would have accessibility right outside. It would be your own property. It would not be a condo. But 500 square feet is tight. And you're talking about your kitchen, your bathroom, your bedroom, your living room, everything within that 500 square feet. So I want to ask you guys, really think about it and tell me in the comments, do you think that you could combine and live in 500 square feet? Because I know that the goal here, and this is what I really like about it, is the goal here is to make some affordable housing options so that other people can have a place to go for 500 square feet and access to MARTA, access to the Beltline, which is not far. It would be $100,000 to $150,000. Terry, I love it. No tiny homes for me. I need somewhere to retreat. I feel you, Terry. I am exactly the same way. I will say that I know, kind of looking back, I feel like a lot of properties, I was raised in Chamblee, and my grandparents' home that was in Chamblee was, I think, 1,700 square feet total. And it was 3 bedrooms, had an upstairs living room and downstairs living room, and it worked. And I feel like a lot of homes used to be in that 1,700, 1,800 square feet. And then little by little, we got into these mega houses where 3,000 square feet is just kind of the norm. It's kind of the what's needed. So I just don't know that I could quite go down to 500 though. Anthony, I have too much stuff to fit in a home that size, right? Like I need a 500 square foot closet to put all of that stuff. So I like the idea though. Great choice for someone to start building equity though for a first start. That's exactly it, Anthony. That is exactly it. I love the option that they're giving to be able to have something that is affordable. So it says it's just a small plot of land right now, but big things could be coming to an area along Princeton Avenue, just a block away from College Park's MARTA station. So you would literally be just a block away from public transportation. And then they said it would be a good spot, great location, close to city services, the library, and restaurants that are along main streets, plus parks and recreation. So I feel like this is one of those locations that it would really work. I do think that if you have something like this and you have it too rural of an area, what if you don't have access to public transportation? What if you don't have that urban factor, that walkability factor? Do you guys think that that will weigh heavily on if you're creating affordable housing? Now, like I mentioned before, there is a tiny home community that is up in kind of the Blue Ridge Mountains right by Lake Burton. It's a different vibe though. It more gives you the Airbnb vibe where you can go and you can just stay for like a weekend or a week. And I might be able to do something like that where I'm not bringing all of my junk with me. So it's a very different vibe. I personally think that these tiny home options would be great if you're doing them in urban environments where people would have access to the Beltline. They would have access to restaurants or MARTA. They would have access to just walk and go to shops or maybe even jobs. And I feel like that would be really creating some affordable options. Terry, that's a cool area. I can't wait to see it. I agree. College Park is really doing big things, and I can't wait to see what this looks like. I like the fact that they're just kind of playing with it right now. They said 6 to 8 homes, and so that way we could kind of see, what does the public think? What's the feedback on this? Are people really going for it because it is an affordable option? Like Anthony said, it's a great way to start building equity. It's a great way to have something that you can call your own and have just something that you can create your own space. One of the things when I lived in an apartment right after we got married, I did not like the fact that I could not paint my walls. I wanted to paint my walls so bad, and it was something so simple and so ridiculous, but I'm paying for it and I wanted to paint my walls. And so to have something that you have saved up for and you are calling your own and making your own, I feel like is such a big deal. So I'm excited to see what College Park does with this. And I actually I plan on reaching out to them and just seeing what other information we can get to see when are we kind of expecting this to start building. Like they said, right now, it's just kind of a plot of land. So we'll see how that goes. So one of the other things that I wanted to jump on here today and kind of look over, I'm going to share with you guys because we've talked about this. Metro Atlanta's spring home buying season starts off with a whimper. Well, that's a great headline. So everybody knows, since we've been talking on here, experts say May could begin a turnaround with homeowners listing their homes. I have said this for so long on here. The problem is lack of inventory. The problem that we keep facing is the lack of inventory. And usually by now, we are starting to see more and more properties coming on. And that way, buyers are able to start going ahead and buying property. Because if you were to close on a property right now, you would still have 30 or go under contract on a property right now. Your closing date would most likely be in June. And a lot of people like to move during that summertime because that way they can make sure that the kids are out of school. If they're needing to transition to a new school zone, they can do that during the summer, and then the kids are starting in the fall. So if you were to go under contract right now, you're typically looking at a 30 to 45 day close. 30 days in Georgia is typical. So you're looking at a June closing, and then thankfully your first payment isn't even until August. So a lot of people don't realize when you close on a property, unless you're closing on like June 1st, then it would be directly the next month. But if you're closing, let's say today, May 11th, your closing would be now, but then your first payment, you skip a month. So you would skip June and you would go into July. So that would be your first payment. So that's why a lot of people, when they're renting, they'll go ahead and start looking a little bit earlier because they'll have that layover month where they could go ahead and pay another month's rent because they're not going to have to pay their mortgage that month. They will get an extra month. And so if that's something that you're thinking about, make sure that you have that kind of in your pocket to utilize. But usually by now, we're really starting to see the market ramp up. We're starting to see more listings coming on. We're starting to see buyers out there. And what's kind of nerve-wracking right now is we are seeing buyers out there, but there are no homes for sale. So currently, actually this week and last week, we had less homes come on the market than we have pretty much the entire year so far. And I hate to say this, but we're almost to the halfway mark of the year. I cannot believe that we're already, making it through May already, but we're not seeing a lot of inventory coming up, and that's an issue. So this article was sitting here talking about the fact that experts say May could begin a turnaround with homeowners listing their homes. Builders have also been trying to continue building, moving things a little bit faster. That way they can pump out some things. A lot of people are waiting to see a ton of new construction, and builders are still kind of holding off, and they're doing build to contract. So when you come and you put a contract on that property, that's when they start the build process. So when you see properties that are standing inventory, many times that property was already under contract with a previous buyer, and then that buyer, for whatever reason, backed out of that contract. It could have been that their financing didn't work out. It could be that they needed something quicker. Unfortunately, with a lot of homes that were being built, one of the things that happened when the interest rates rose were people were under contract to buy a new construction property. Well, when I went under contract with this builder for a $500,000 property, interest rates were 3%. Well, now as time goes on and it takes this builder 6 months to build this property, and I'm okay with that. I'm renting, I'll wait. Well, but now interest rates have gone up. And I can't afford that same $500,000 mortgage that I was going to buy because interest rates have gone up to 6.5% compared to when I wrote the contract, they were 3%. I never saw them going up to 6.5. Now I can't afford that payment. I don't qualify for that. So now I end up having to lose that home and put that home back on the market. And that's where you start to see spec houses or standing inventory with builders. Let's take it back to 06, 07. I actually worked for a builder then, a very local builder. I won't call out any names, but let's just say they went under, rebranded. We all know it. But we were building spec homes like crazy. And I sat down with some clients earlier this week, two ladies. I've been working with them for a while. Absolutely precious people to me. And I've told you guys this before, I love getting to go and sit down with clients and completely debate with them. I've gone to lunch with Anthony and he and I sit there and debate. And I love when you guys, as the client, as the customer, know the market and can sit there and we can have an intelligent conversation. And these ladies were prepared. And it was fantastic because they said, Ashley, what is the difference between '06, '07 and today? Because we feel like that's what's coming. We feel like that we're seeing the writing on the wall. And I had to explain to them, I worked for a builder in '06, '07, and '08. We went under in '09, and that's when I actually went into the resale side of things. So I've been on both sides of the coin. '06, '07, one of my primary jobs was not even selling homes. One of my primary jobs was choosing fixtures, choosing design elements for the interior of homes because we were building spec houses to have standing inventory so that when you came in, I have a house for you that can be ready in 2 weeks or 30 days or heck, 1 week. It's already standing, it's ready to go. So we had so much standing inventory. We had almost entire neighborhoods built waiting for people to come in and purchase them. As we were releasing the lots in phases, we were building. There was no waiting for a contract, waiting for a buyer. If we had the permits, we were building. And so that's where a lot of things are completely different. And what has also led to a lot of the inventory issue. Builders got burned. Builders got burned hard back in '08, '09, 10, 11. I mean, it lasted a while. People think that, oh, it was just '08. No, that's the initial start of it. It actually was the worst in 2009 and 2010. And we actually didn't start to come back to it till 11, 12, even 13. So it lasted a really long time. So then builders never started building standing inventory again. They never started to build standing inventory. Why? Because they lost it. They lost so much in that crash because had they not had standing inventory, that would have at least been more money in their pockets. Had they, not built on the land, perhaps they could have sold it off, but they didn't. They had all of these spec homes that now ended up going into foreclosure, part of them, or they were literally just selling them for pennies on the dollar. So now builders never started building that back up. So it's always been you bring me a contract, I'll build you a house. Well, what if I need a house in 30 days? You don't have anything for me. I can't wait 6 months. My lease is up, or I'm having a job relocation. I need to get into something. Well, builders don't have it. Those spec houses are really important to have at least a few, so that way we're creating more buying options for the buyers that are out there right now needing homes. I have 2 clients right now. We cannot find a property. There is just no great options out there that is in the areas they need, that is in the price point that they need. And so builders creating some standing inventory, I do feel like would relieve some of the pressure. Anthony, sad to ask this, but is a recession the only way to get inventory to change or create a buyer's market? That's a great question. I don't feel like a recession is the only way. This is kind of a loaded thing. And unfortunately, there's no nice way to say this, but I think American greed is one of the things that needs to get in check. And unfortunately, that could be a recession. It could. But this was one of the things that I was talking with the ladies the other day. They were like, what is the best way to get things under control? The best way to get things under control would be for when you're a seller, choose the family that is looking to buy your property instead of choosing the investor. If the investor offers you $5,000 more, but you're able to allow a family a first opportunity to purchase, give it to the family. Because these investors are competing with billions in cash that the American people just can't compete with. And unfortunately, I told you guys back in 2021, 33% of housing was sold to large corporation investors. It's not the mom and pop investors like you and I who are like, oh, maybe I'll flip a house or maybe I'll get one and hold it for my kids. No, these were big money investors that were buying up everything that they could. And one of the ladies that I was having lunch with asked me, She said, well, why are they building or why are they buying it up? I don't understand. Because from my perspective, her perspective, she said they're not getting a great deal. So, okay, interest or equity rises 3% this year. They didn't make a lot of money. No, they didn't make a lot of money on their equity, but it's still 3%. It didn't go backwards. And rent that you can charge right now is astronomical. So they're making their money. And even if they're breaking even, they own property and they're going to continue to own property. And the American people are not paying attention to the fact that their end goal is to own as much as they possibly can. Why? So we all have to rent. Because when you pay your house off and you own it free and clear, are you paying anybody? Are you paying interest on a loan? No. You're paying your taxes, but you're not paying interest on a loan. They want you to. They want you to be paying interest on that loan. And I know that there's different people that will say different things about you should always have the loan because that's, you take that money and you put it elsewhere. Fair enough. I get that. And I get how you go back and you use this money to make more money. I get all of that. However, when we are watching them continue to buy up entire neighborhoods, there's a neighborhood here in Swanee. There's a neighborhood over in, what is that, Houston, right off of kind of almost in Brazelton. Their lease, the entire neighborhood is for lease. It was never for sale. It will never be for sale. Not right now anyways, according to the builder when I asked them, but they're focusing on the 55 plus also. The interesting thing about this is I have a client that I was talking to recently about this, and they shocked me to my core. I had never thought of this from their perspective, and it shocked me to my core. It really rattled me. I'm 40 years old. I'm not to the position of where I'm looking at downsizing from a home. I still have kids in school. I just told y'all I'm just trying to make it through May with everybody still alive and moving forward. So that being said, I have a lot of time right now. What we're seeing is people that are in their 60s, 70s, some of them even in their 50s, where they're like, we had the big house, the 2,500 square feet, 3,000 square feet and up. We had the big house because they were in my phase of life. They were in Anthony's phase of life. We have kids. We're in school. We need a good school district. We need a large home so each kid can have a bedroom. If they have each bathroom, then my God, we're doing really well because my son and my daughter fighting over the bathroom is just, going to drive me insane. So having these large homes when you have kids and you need the school district, I totally get it. But then a lot of these people would kind of age out of this. I don't want to have the maintenance anymore. My kids aren't here. They're grown. They're going to college. They're married. They've got kids. We thought the grandkids were going to come here, but they moved away. They don't come as much. We fly out to see them. So a lot of times we just see the evolution of life, and these people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s end up selling that larger home, which then makes it available for someone like me. And then they're going into a smaller home that is more manageable for them. They don't want to have the maintenance of a large home. They don't want to have the maintenance of a large yard. They're more in the phase of like, look, I can come and go as I please. I'm not running people to soccer. I want to come home, check on everything, change and walk out the door and go to dinner, walk down to dinner. However, this is what shocked me right here. And listen closely. I was talking with a gentleman, it was last weekend, and he said, Ashley, I want to sell my home so bad. It annoys me that I have to stay here because it's far larger. My wife and I use the main floor. We don't go in the basement. We don't go upstairs, like at all. He said, so we have a cleaner that comes and maintains the main floor of the home, but we do not use either of those floors. I have somebody that I pay to mow the lawn because I don't want to. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't want this house. However, my concern is they're at the phase of life where they want to sell and they want to almost go into an assisted living sort of facility, not where they need really help with anything, but where it's paid for They've got dinners, lunches, breakfast taken care of. He said, but here's my concern. I sell my house. Let's say he sells it for $800,000. And he said, I own it outright. So now I put $800,000 in the bank and I feel so good. And I'm going to go and I'm going to live in that assisted living where everything's taken care of. They have cleaners. I don't have a yard. I can come and go as I please. I can walk right down the street because the downtown's right there. I can go grab dinner. Or if I don't want to, I can just walk down the stairs and look, there's a chef here that has prepared meals for me. I can bring my furniture and what I need in here, but nothing else. However, I'm watching all of these banks surrounding us and they're collapsing. People are talking about the American dollar, what's going to happen with it. I'm seeing foreign countries that are basically trying to not even use the American dollar. So if I sell my home that I own currently, no one can take it from me. I'm safe here. And I sell this property for $800,000 or whatever the number is. And I put that money in the bank and I go live in an assisted living. And it's $5,000 a month. And then my money isn't really worth anything because the American dollar crashes or the banks crash. And I lose all of that cash. I'm now homeless because I can't have the finances to continue to pay for where I am. Where if I just keep this house that I don't want, I at least know no one can take this from me. And that right there was a shocker to me because I never looked at it from the perspective of the generation that is ready to get out of these larger homes, because we kind of bank on that. They get to the point, we're done, we're going to move into something smaller. A lot of the people that were in the smallers are like, great, I'll take this because now we're having kids. My starter home was much smaller. It was my husband and I. Then when we started having kids, that got real tight. And so we moved up. Well, then you get to the point that you don't need all of this. So you move to something smaller. But if these people are staying here because they're fearful, then these homes are not coming available. And that added a whole new sequence that I had never, ever, ever even considered as to why inventory is where it's at. And a lot of people have said, well, it's because people don't want to sell because of, they got these great rates. Yes and no. If you bought in the last 2 to 3 years, absolutely, you have a fantastic rate. I wouldn't sell it either. If anything, I would at least hold on to it, have it as an income property, an investment property, and then I would go buy something else if that's something that you really needed to do. If you're needing to move cross country because you got a job offer or a family, whatever happens, and you need to sell, that's a hard place because you're still able to sell and probably get your money back. You're not going to make a significant amount of money, especially if you bought last year, but you are going to be able to get your money back at least. You have to consider in selling that things have continued to rise. Even this year, we've gone up, I think we're at about 3%. It's not looking like it's going to trend down anytime soon. So we're going to continue, even if this year we end at a 3% equity increase. You're still at least making money. You haven't lost anything yet. So, but even before that, people were at 4.5%, 5% interest. So yes, interest rate is a big deal. However, looking at the reason that we're not having inventory, it's fear. It's all fear. And it's fear of what's coming. People are fearing, is there going to be a recession? People are fearing what's going to happen with the banks. People are fearing so many factors, and that's why everyone is sitting still. And somehow, Anthony, going back to your question, because this is the longest answer ever, because it totally got sidetracked, but is a recession the only way to get inventory to change or create a buyer's market? No. People have to stop living in fear. And when I say somebody, I mean a lot of people have to start making a move. They just have to start taking a risk and having a little bit of faith and moving forward. And that is the only way that we're going to see ourselves get out of this. I think that builders getting some spec houses available, so that will alleviate some. I think getting the economy to where we're not fearing what's going to happen with the trillions of dollars that we're pumping out on a regular basis. And I hate to get political, so I'm not going to, but it's a factor. It is. It's a factor, especially for the people that are in their 50s to 70s range that are normally putting their homes on the market right now, and they're not doing that. Not sure I can do a tiny home. I don't think I could either. We talked about that earlier, and 500 square feet just seems really, really tight. Betty Ayers, I think the media plays a big part in this. I would agree. Um, I am one of those people. I've said it on here before, and I'm sorry if you don't agree with me. I don't come on here to necessarily make friends. I always love when you guys tune in, but my goal in this is to be honest because unfortunately a lot of people aren't. And I think the media is a huge part in it. I think they sell fear because fear sells. And you will tune in for something that's, the sky is falling before the sky is beautiful. And so I think that the media is constantly trying to put it in people's minds that all of this is happening. I have a lot of people right now that are waiting on this recession. Well, what if the recession never comes? How much money did you lose waiting on that recession? If we continue to go up 3% a year, 5% a year, it's not substantial, but 2 years from now, that's 6 to 10% that you lost because you were waiting on what the media told you was going to happen. And currently, we don't have any signs of a recession in the housing market happening. Now, the banks and the trillions being pumped, I don't have any words for that. I do think it's going to be interesting how that all plays out. Betty Years, absolutely. But I love when you tune in. You're just such a fun one with all the questions and thoughts. So that being said, I do think that we're going to have to see some inventory coming on the market in order for things to continue, because what's happening is buyers are getting really, really frustrated. They don't want to rent because rent is astronomical right now. They want to put their money somewhere. At the same time, there's no options for them to purchase. This week and last week has been so painful looking at properties because there's nothing new. I'm seeing the same houses, and it's still a factor of if you want to get a deal, you're going to have to look at something that needs work. You're not getting a new home. And when I say new home, I'm not even talking new construction. I'm talking about you're not getting something. If you're looking at it and thinking, wow, that's beautiful, so is everybody else. So is everybody else. So you're not getting a deal on that house. If you look at that house and you think, I can see the potential. It needs some paint for sure. And could probably use new countertops and maybe even a fresh coat of paint on the cabinets. But I mean, I can see the potential. Then other people are probably thinking that too. And those are the homes that are sitting. And those are the homes that you might get more flexibility. You're not getting a deal right now. No one is getting a deal right now. And if you're holding out for that, hold your breath because it's not coming right now. What we're seeing right now is still a little bit of multiple offers on the homes that are incredibly move-in ready. The homes that you have to see through and see the potential in, those are the ones that are staying on a little bit longer. We have seen reductions in those. We have seen even a little bit of closing costs paid. We've seen rate buy downs in those. I hate rate buy downs. And if you're thinking about doing one of those, please talk to me before you do so. If you've watched my video on that, then you know my feelings. That's a total different topic. I digress. I'm going to let you guys get going. I hope you have a fantastic week, fantastic Mother's Day if you're a mom, and I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will see you guys next Thursday at 7 p.m.